Good evening and welcome to tonight's regular September board meeting of the Baby Hills Board of Education. Our first order of business is to approve the amended agenda, which is displayed on the screen, and this amendment was necessary to include additional personnel actions. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next order of business is to approve the minutes of the September 6th meeting that have been distributed. Do I hear a motion to approve? Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion or corrections to those minutes? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, I'll now turn the meeting over to Dr. Mason to present our recognitions.
Thank you. We have several students and teachers today that are with us to be recognized for some really outstanding achievements. I'll ask Jane Marie Marlin to handle that for us.
Okay, I've actually asked Dr. Burgess
Okay.
as the high school principal to welcome our guests and do the recognitions for us tonight.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm very excited that Ms. Marlin asked me to do this. I love getting to brag about our students, as you know, and our teachers, and so I'm happy to share some things about a few of our rebels tonight. So I want to start with our students, and if I could have our National Merit semifinalists come forward, and I'm going to call you up and make you stand in front of everybody and let them see how. Come on forward. You got to come up in front, and you got to stand, and let everybody see how handsome and pretty you are, along with being incredibly intelligent. So as they're standing here and you're taking pictures and looking at this fine group, I want to explain a little bit about what National Merit is, for those that might not know. So these students, these are all seniors, and last year as juniors they took the PSAT, which is also the NMSQT, the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. So they get that qualifying test just as a part of taking the PSAT as a junior. And in that test, they come on forward. I'm glad you're here. You didn't miss out. So in taking that test, all scores for the nation are registered for juniors in that year, and they take the top 1% of each state, and those scorers become National Merit semifinalists for the scholarship competition for National Merit. So in our state for this year, in our top 1%, the qualifying score was at 216, which I'm happy to say in the state of Alabama is actually a higher cut score than what it has been in the past, which means that, in my estimation, we're getting a lot more right, and our students are doing much, much better, which means that our cut scores are increasing. So I'm excited for that and for these students who did outstandingly well on their PSAT. So we have 12, which is a tie for the most in the state of Alabama, which we're excited about. We always love that Vestavia Hills can be promoted and be at the top of all these state lists. These students certainly help us prove that. There are 221 National Merit semifinalists in the state of Alabama, so our 12 are represented in that number, and there are 16,000 nationwide. So what will happen from now is they will submit some applications and packets, essays, and to move forward in the competition, and then they will be narrowed down to National Merit finalists based on that packet. And I'm supposed to remind you all that your packets are due to Mr. Aaron tomorrow, I believe. So hopefully you've taken care of that. If not, it might be a late night for you, along with your other homework that you probably have. So with that reminder, I want to call them out by name. And when I call your name, if you would just share with the audience either where you plan to go to school or what you plan to do next year. I just always like for our board and for our audience to hear a little bit about what your plans might be moving forward. They don't have to be firm. You don't have to commit at this point. So I'm going to go alphabetically. Nick Aldana.
I don't know yet.
Thank you for being honest. Chandler Clemens.
I'm planning to go to Georgia Tech, and I plan to major in mechanical engineering.
Wonderful. Richard Fu.
So I want to go into medicine and research, specifically cardiology. So I'll be applying to Harvard and UAB.
Josh Gray.
I'm Josh, and I'll be going into mechanical or perhaps computer science and engineering.
Ginger Levina. Macy McClure.
I'm going into aerospace engineering.
Nelson Mills.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Me neither, Nelson. Sid, be ready?
So wherever I go to college, we'll see where the money takes me. I plan on double majoring in public health and biology.
Jacob Reber?
I don't really know where I'm going to go to school, but I would like to have a major in either science or biology.
Robert Smith?
I'm thinking about majoring in chemical engineering.
Sarah Zhao?
I'm thinking about majoring in biochemistry and economics.
And Yi Han Song?
I'm thinking about applying to UPenn and majoring in biology.
That is awesome. Guys, congratulations and best of luck to you moving forward in the competition and in your studies this year. I know you're going to do great things to represent us, and we're truly proud of y'all. If y'all would, please give us a Thanks for being here.
I'd like to add my congratulations to these students. I see a number of parents here also today. Congratulations to you. You had a lot to do with their being here in a lot of ways, and I know your support and encouragement have meant a lot to them over the years. So, great occasion for your entire family. We congratulate all of you. I do have a question for the semifinalists. Do you still have to study? Well, if you need to leave to go study, we'll understand that at this point in the meeting. If you want to stay as a civics lesson, that'll be fine too. But we'll give you a moment to do whatever you need to do.
Thank you. All right, I would love to turn our attention now to recognizing one of our faculty members. Beth Pastor, if you would come forward and join me. So everyone can see how pretty you are tonight and how smart. So I want to share a few things about Beth just so you get to know her if you don't already. And as I also share with you some wonderful news that we get to experience with her in this process. So Beth has been named as a finalist for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching for the state of Alabama. So there are 10 finalists in that category for science and math. And Beth is among the finalists for our state. Those finalists will be pared down eventually to be selected as two from that pool to go to the national recognition in Washington, D.C. So she's going to be honored at an awards luncheon in Montgomery here in a few weeks, and we're excited to share that with you. I'll be right here with you. Have some rubber chicken and salad. So that'll be a lot of fun. But I want to share a little bit about Beth and how it came that she is deserving of this award. I've known Beth. I've worked with you now for 3 years at the high school. Worked with you for a year at the middle school at Pizzazz, and then also worked with you at Homewood on faculty there teaching math. And then also know her from high school back in the day when I was in high school. She was one of our math teachers at Berry. So I've known Beth for a long time in a lot of ways. And a couple things I want to point out to you. This year, Beth is teaching a couple different things for us, and I wanted to express this just to show you the uniqueness and the creativity that Beth brings to the classroom. So she is currently teaching Algebra 1A for us in classes, and also block classes of Geometry and Algebra 2 with Trig. So a little bit about how that came about. One, let's talk about Algebra 1A. She is teaching that in a co-teaching manner, which our district invested in some professional development in the previous 2 years with Marilyn Friend, who is helping us be better co-teachers within our faculty, among special ed teachers and within our general ed departments. And so Beth and Shelley Munger decided to tackle this class together, and they wanted to co-teach an algebra class. And so we ventured into that last year. It was a huge success. We're following that in this year, and they just work so well together in how they help our students and help accommodate learning in the classroom and really work with each other in order to teach that class. And it's not Beth's class that Shelley sits in or Shelley's class that Beth sits in. They truly teach this together. It's a collaborative environment, and our kids benefit from that. So she's a model to our other teachers for how to do that collaboration. And then also we had this unique opportunity this year where we were working on the students that she teaches through the Algebra 1A and Algebra 1B to get back on a track that prepares them for a certain level of math for college. And so that's one of the gaps that Beth helped us identify, that these students aren't necessarily able to achieve that just by course selection because of them having to split up their math, because that's what's best for them. And so we're offering these block classes in order to get them more caught up in a way that prepares them to be able to leave with a pre-calculus type class that will prepare them for the college that they might choose to go to. So that's creativity and bringing that to the table, and also designing the course is a huge benefit to our students, and another reason why she is a wonderful finalist for this award, and we certainly expect that she'll have an opportunity at the national level. So thank you for all that you do, and we appreciate you. Mentioned that probably a good point is her daughter also teaches with us at Vestavos High School and has followed in her footsteps as a math teacher and is also doing an exceptional job, but you obviously are inspiring others. So, thank you.
So Beth, just to add congratulations. I know how important this recognition is. Wish you the very best, but to be a finalist is a huge honor. So congratulations on that. Had a cup of coffee early this morning with a friend. And in the coffee shop, I saw this mug, and I knew we were recognizing you today, and I just could not resist. So, getting this mug. First, congratulations. What's the stipulation? You have to read it to the crowd. Okay? Start with that part.
Start with this part.
Yeah.
Teaching is my superpower. All right. Okay, it says, I can do a year's worth of work in 10 months.
Beth, do you have to go home and study?
I'm sorry?
Do you have to go home and study tonight?
Well, I actually have a sick child,
Oh.
so if you don't mind, I may slip out because I'm actually waiting on the doctor call. So I kept thinking, I'll do me. Thank you. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, next thing on our agenda is financial statement. So the board has been given these financial statements for August 2017. Mayor?
Yeah, in your packet, August financial information. Happy to report that our local revenues currently are 3.6% above budget. That's $1.23 million over what we had projected for the year. Last year we were right at 100% of budget at this time. Expenses currently are 95.1% of budget, which is about on track for where we should be. Last year we were at just over 90% of budget, but this is the time of the year when we start doing some accruals and getting ready for year-end close. It's also when we have to pay our insurance to Alabama Trust for Boards of Education, and that is a large expense, and sometimes it posts in August, sometimes in September. This year it posted in August, so that's part of our increase. We did receive notification with our foundation funds for the month of September that have come in that we earned an extra $124,000 out of the foundation in what they call current units money that is earned by systems that have a significant increase in growth over the prior year. It helps to offset some of the cost or some of the funding associated with us being basically funded a year in arrears based on our ADM. One other good bit of news, good news is the state has already approved our budget that we submitted just a couple of weeks ago. So it's the earliest I think I've ever had one approved. Some years it has been as late as March when they were approved. But anyway, we're in good shape now and ready for the next budget amendment whenever we need to do that. All board bank accounts have been reconciled, and there were no unusual items of revenue or expenditure for the month, except one that Dr. Mason will cover later. So that's my report.
So having heard the financial reports, I recommend the board approve those statements.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation. The board approve the financial statements for August 2017. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to recommend the following consent items. These consist of several overnight trip requests, and then also requests to declare certain textbooks at the high school surplus property so they can be sold in this case.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the out-of-state and overnight trips and property disposals as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve? And second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is a recommendation to approve the low bid from Titan Electric in the amount of $112,536 for electrical modifications for the high school baseball field. This is to correct defective lighting at the baseball field. As you can see, we had two bids, so I'm recommending that we accept the lower of those two bids.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the low bid from Titan Electric in the amount of $112,536 for electrical modifications for the high school baseball field as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Having approved the low bid for that work, I would like to recommend the board approve the contract with Titan Electric to execute those improvements.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the contract with Titan Electric and the board in the amount of $112,536 for the electrical modifications at the high school baseball field as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve? And second?
Second.
Any discussion on the contract? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to recommend that the board approve, in addition to our salary schedule, this would be for non-certified support staff, 207-day or 10-month salary schedule. This is necessary because we have a person who has moved into that category that we do not have a salary schedule for. And so we need to have one. So if you have questions, Mr. Mayor can elaborate on that. But it's simply matching up with a position that we have that is a 10-month position for the first time.
All right, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the non-certified support staff salary schedule as submitted. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
And second? Is there any discussion on the schedule? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is the proposed agreement with the Alabama Association of School Boards for Superintendent Search Services. And I would recommend approval of that, just to open the item for discussion and explanation. So I would make that recommendation.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the AASB agreement for Superintendent Search Services for the board of it as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve? And second?
Second.
All right, let me explain a little bit about this contract. As I began to research the search process for a new superintendent, I reviewed the process that we had used in our 2014 search, which was completely self-directed, meaning that we did not engage a search firm, and the board members handled all the administrative tasks as well as public meetings and the application screening and the interviews. So it seemed appropriate to enhance our search this time by using a consultant to direct it and handle the administrative components of the search for us. So I explored the available search firms and sought information on the search processes of other systems in our state. And I learned that the most experienced search firm in our state is the Alabama Association of School Boards. While they offer a variety of of service levels, the one that might be the best fit for us is the high school that they offer. And it's a comprehensive process that includes advertising the position statewide, regionally, and nationally, facilitating meetings and work sessions to develop a profile of the desired superintendent. And that would include meetings with all of our constituent groups, and then screening the applicants based on the results of those meetings. And there are many more administrative matters that they would handle for us, but they have led many searches in the state, including the city of Hoover, Jefferson County, Auburn, Eufaula, Florence, Tuscaloosa City, Boaz, and Dothan. So they have a good bit of experience. We also have another resource that we can use, and that's Dr. Mason. So while AASB could lead the search force, Dr. Mason will be an integral part of the process and provide valuable guidance with his knowledge of our system and our community. He has experience in executive development, so he will also be recruiting for us through his contacts and established channels that he's got to other educators in the region. So now, Dr. Mason, you want to give us some of your thoughts on this?
I'll just make a couple of observations. My experience with search firms and observing in other systems has been that while you hire a firm, essentially the firm is as good as the single consultant that works with the board. That's what ultimately you're buying. And so whether the firm advertises itself as a national firm or however they characterize themselves, at the end of the day, you will get the services that you want or not, depending on who the person is who works with you as a consultant. When I understood that you were looking at the possibility of working with AASB, I understood that one of the consultants that they use in these searches is Dr. Terry Jenkins, who's the retired superintendent of Auburn City Schools, who was also a very successful superintendent in Georgia, and now does superintendent searches under the auspices of AASB. I knew Dr. Jenkins as a fellow superintendent when he was in Auburn. I know he was very well respected by all of his peers across the state. Same was true when he was superintendent in Georgia. I have had 2 lengthy conversations with him just to learn more about how the process would unfold and what his role in that would be. On behalf of the board, I conveyed to him that the board is insistent on a broad search that identifies possible matches and encourages those who are potential good matches for the school system to apply. In other words, I've made clear to him that the board is looking for a process that recruits, not just posts. And sometimes you'll see searches where the idea is, we'll put this out there all over the galaxy, and we just know somebody good's going to show up. That's not a search, that's a post. And Dr. Jenkins understands the difference and is committed to work with the board to be sure that this is a search. So how does a search become national? I know in every one of these I've been involved in, everyone's interested in it being national, if not intergalactic. So how does a search become national? I think that really happens by tapping into networks across the country, because there are not a lot of practicing superintendents or aspiring superintendents out there who are necessarily constantly scanning job postings on the other side of the country. That's just not the way it works. They may know of those locally, but they're just not going to be that aware of something that is not in their area. So the way it becomes national is to tap into networks, and those networks can do 2 things. First of all, they can help us get the word out that we have a position, that it's a desirable position, and one that is looking for certain things. And then secondly, those networks can help us identify individuals who are believed to be a possible match for Best Aid. Then it's the role of a search consultant to reach out to those people who've been identified and recruit them to be candidates. That may be a phone call, it may be a visit to the community, it will be whatever it needs to be to encourage people who look like really promising candidates to get engaged in the process. Sometimes that's a hard sell. For someone who's in another state who would be having to change retirement systems, take the risk of changing states, 10 years to get invested, Not that I had any personal experience in any of this, but it's not always an easy sell, and simply posting the position is not going to attract candidates far and wide, which I know is what you want. So Dr. Jenkins has certain networks that he can tap into. I have 3 that I'm a part of, one of which is regional, the other 2 are national. And so I think working together, we can A, get the word out, and B, get help in identifying people then that will be recruited to become candidates. There is an organization called the Suburban School Superintendents Association. That would sound like to me an organization that we ought to establish some contact with and see if they can help us get the word out. So again, I am very satisfied that Dr. Jenkins understands the difference between recruiting and posting, and that he's committed to working with you to be sure that you have a wide search that recruits outstanding candidates for your consideration.
Mr. Boone, would you please opine on the contract for us?
The contract meets the requirements of Alabama law.
Thank you, sir. All right, discussion, board members. Questions, comments, any other things you'd like to talk about?
I just have a question. So would there be any concern if we find a great candidate and are able to recruit somebody, would they be able to leave their position in February, being in the middle of their school year for recruiting another superintendent? Is there any concern that there may be a gap there we would have to address, or they would just need to leave, they would need to start in February?
I don't think that's predictable. I think it entirely depends on the person and the board that they're working with currently and what agreement they might reach. I think typically a board would want at least some period of notice, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, whatever it might be. And so I just think that's, job 1 is get the best person. And then job 2 is figure out when they can be here. And then if there's a gap, figure out how to fill the gap. So I think that's, it's hard to predict.
Yeah, okay, we just have to evaluate on a case-by-case basis, something, because there are a lot of different opinions on the best time to recruit, and, you know, when you might get the best candidates and so forth, and it's all over the board, you know, it's various times of the year, so I think it's just something you have to look at.
Just quickly, I think it's important for everybody to know, and I've had good conversation with Nancy and very open, frank discussion with Dr. Mason on this process. And we have to develop a process with the help of whoever it is, AASB or whoever. And part of that I want to make sure is it's an open process, that we tap into you, the administrators, the principals, the people that work for the board itself. We're going to engage parents. I mean, it's going to be an open process, gathering information from various groups to try to help guide the search. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. And we also discussed, and kind of like what you touched on as well, that you know, there's a opportune window that we'd like to see the position filled, but you know, if somebody has a good job, they're going to be staying in their job. Y'all don't leave your jobs in the middle of the school year to go somewhere else. So that's you know, that is a, not you, Grace. It's crazy and exciting, but you know, we've discussed that as well, and the process we can appeal to, I don't want to say draw out the process, but continue the process to meet state law and regulations if we're showing due diligence in the search.
I understand.
Right. Yeah. So we'll develop a process, we'll have a timeline, we'll have a work session on it that will be open, there'll be meetings with the public and with other educators, and so, you know, as we get that developed, we'll put that out and let everybody see what the plans are. All right, so we're ready to vote then? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to recommend that the board approve the personnel actions outlined in the materials.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the resignations, transfers, employments, and supplements as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on personnel? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Yes. I just have one comment or update today, and it's a very positive one. Last week, I guess it was, is that right? President Corona represented the school system at a ceremony where the Jefferson County government and other elected officials gathered to tell school systems that they were getting an additional amount of money from the 1 cent sales tax. There was money that had been tied up while the courts were resolving some issues that had been earning interest for quite a period of time now, several years. And so the courts had finally released that money, and this was when each system found out how much they were going to get. And so I have another obligation in the school system, so Ms. Corona represented us, and she was the one who got to get the news first, I guess. So it was a nice big check. Literally. It was a nice big check. So Mr. Mayor said it was very difficult to deposit in the drive-through. But given the size, he figured out how to do that. Yeah, so, obviously good news, and also even more good news is that we've had a legal opinion passed on to us that there are no limitations on how this money can be used. So it will be up to the school system to decide how to use that literally for any purpose that they want, whereas the original 1 cent sales tax revenues had a lot of limitations on what it could or could not be used for. So it's not every day you get $4.7 million by showing up at a meeting. So thank you for showing up on our behalf.
All right. Our last order of business will be to invite public comment. We ask that you please limit comments to agenda items and come to the podium and state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes if possible.
I just wanted to say that I've read through the contract with AASB. I love what I read in it. I think that it would be a comprehensive search, and that sounds just wonderful. There was one thing that I wanted to ask the board to consider, and you may have already considered it, I don't know. There has been some discussion in the community about whether it is appropriate for the superintendent to reside in our district. And I just wanted to ask that you would consider that as something, an action that you might take to adjust whatever policies have to be adjusted. If you're going to do it, I would think it would make sense to do that before you post a job posting for the superintendent. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, our next meeting will be a special call meeting on Wednesday, October 4th at 4 p.m. The purpose of the meeting will be to convene an executive session pursuant to the authority of the Alabama Open Meetings Act at Title 36-25A-7A6, Code of Alabama, 1975. The subject for discussion during the executive session will be the possible purchase of real estate. So, there being no further business to come before this board, we stand adjourned.